Maybe Anredera. Actually, see this to the leaves, very thick and juicy leaves, and it grows very, very fast, but usually dying back after flowering and sprouting again in the rainy season. But here you see both the leaves and. But this species, I don't know this species. I know, of course, the group of Anredera bucingolcia, but this species, I don't know it at all. It's very, very nice. It's just above the city of Antigua. We see a very beautiful patch of a forest, and here, just close to a ficus covering with its roots the rocks. We see many interesting native plants. We see a very beautiful member of Acanthaceae. It's maybe a Justicia, I don't know, I cannot say the genus, but it's a very, very beautiful. We see a begonia also here, which has the whitish nerves and very huge male flowers with 2 tepals. Yeah, I think it's a Fourcroya, but what is interesting, we see it is the same old inflorescence, the circular green things, which are probably bulbils, and also hanging brown structure with apparently 3 valves, which are the fruits. So we have on the same inflorescence both the production of real seeds through the fruits now which are dry, and the still maturing bulbils, the green spherical bulbils.
The treatment is to boil 9 flowers every morning and drink the tea of that for 9 days.
For 9 days.
Attendez, les femmes sont colorées, c'est incroyable.
Oui, c'est assez sublime, les femmes.
You know, just they feel it, you know, and with the salt walk.
Il y a quelques jolis garçons ici, je sais pas si tu as remarqué.
Oui, regarde ça par exemple. C'est mignon ça.
He will come soon.
Pues en eso, nosotros cuatro, tal vez la idea de ellos era acercar más a la gente.
So here we are just above the Atitlan Lake. We are at about 1,800 meters above sea level. What is very special for me is this plant. I did see these very soft leaves hanging vertically, and I was very surprised because when I see the inflorescence, I see that actually it is a peperomia. But I've never seen a peperomia with so soft leaves and growing like this vertically and covering totally the slope. So I'm very, very surprised. I could not believe that this inflorescence did belong to this plant. But obviously it is a peperomia. Of course, there are many, many species of peperomia in South America and Central America. And we see that the diversity of the species is one thing, but the diversity of the growth habits and the structure of leaves is also amazing in this genus. Here we see a huge stand of Gunnera. We know that Gunnera is mostly a South Hemisphere genus because we can find it in Chile, in south of Brazil, also in Australia and South Africa, and also even in Borneo. But very few species are also moving northwards, and here in Guatemala, which is almost with Mexico the northern limit of this genus, and we see an incredibly healthy and beautiful population. It is growing on very steep slopes, very humid, and we see the big inflorescence, and the tiny seeds can germinate only on very steep slopes. That's why it is colonizing this place, and almost nothing is growing, but some other plants can grow here also. One more huge Gunnera here, which has big inflorescences arising from the middle, but this one is really huge concerning the leaves. Here we see something looking like nothing, except it's green. But actually, when we look, we see it's adult, because we see the inflorescence recurved like this. It's a solanum, and there is one group of a solanum, it's a section Pteroides, which are only understory species. Some are erect like this, some are climbing. So it's very unusual for a solanum to see it growing in shade and in very humid, because we see it's a seeping rock here, and we see the succulent stem like impatiens or like a peperomia. Not at all usual for a solanum. Actually, I did think it was maybe a Gesneriad when I did see from far, like a Besleria, but when I look more closely, actually, I see that these opposite leaves, which could be Gesneriad, of course, but there are stipules between the leaves. So actually, it's a member of Rubiaceae. It has very long tube and very fuchsia-like flowers, but we know there are so many hummingbirds, and the hummingbirds love the tubular flowers, very colorful like this. It's a very beautiful species, not same as the invasive species we can find all over the world. This one has very beautiful big inflorescence. It's a genus of Rubiaceae, which is characteristic mostly of La Hollande in tropical America, but also we see some species are growing at higher levels.
Palicourea.
Palicourea. C'est une comélinacée, mais très étrange, with huge terminal and also lateral inflorescence, because it ends in a branch spike, but also we see laterally it is flowering. Very strange. I am totally intrigued by this plant. The leaves, I did think maybe it's a Dorstenia, which is has rosetted leaves, but when I look, it's not at all rosetted. It is climbing. It has a very long sheath and some adventitious roots appearing at the nodes. The stem looks exactly like a member of Araceae, but obviously we see the roots adhering to dead leaves. When I see the apex is really like an Araceae with a leaf sheath here, totally embracing the stem on the new leaf. But if it's an Araceae, maybe it could be a Syngonium. It seems it's maybe almost adult, so I'm very, very intrigued by this plant. I did think maybe an Asteraceae, so it cannot be a philodendron, it cannot be a monstera, it cannot be an anthurium, so I think only maybe a Syngonium. Finally, I see this plant climbing. No doubt it's an Araceae, and no doubt also it is a Syngonium species, but I did never see a Syngonium with leaves cut like this. But when I see the sheath, the stem, or the lateral roots, it is a Syngonium. And here also a philodendron of the section Pteromyscum. So there are many species of philodendron like this which don't look so much like philodendron. I'm very surprised by this species of Bromeliaceae. Of course, the leaves are quite usual for the Guzmania, this group Vriezea, all this group of Bromeliaceae. But what is very strange is the inflorescence, not the structure by itself, because the disticus inflorescence like this is typical of Menithyllanthia, Vriezea, and Guzmania. But what is very surprising is that first, to see 4 inflorescences, but these inflorescences are axillary or not at all terminal. So it's very, very unusual to see Bromeliaceae with axillary inflorescence like this. Maybe it's due to a traumatism in the center of the rosette, but maybe it's really a species with axillary inflorescence, which is not at all usual for this family. Actually, this plant is very intriguing, but when I look from far, I see it's obviously a bromeliad, and when I look at the dead leaves, it is a Pitcairnia. But difficult to understand if the plant is dead or not, because we see many different inflorescences. When we look more closely, we see that in different parts we see the new shoots which will be bearing the new leaves, but it's very spiny, so it's very difficult to approach these growing points. But at the periphery also, many new shoots are arising. We see already the green leaves, but it is very well protected, because like this, no animal except hummingbirds can just drink the nectar, but no animal can eat neither the flowers, neither the leaves. So the plant will be alive for many, many years like this.
Chiche Castenango.
No importa que seas canalla, no importa que sea verdad. Ae, ae, donde tú vas, ae, ae, donde tú vas. No importa que seas canalla, no importa que sea verdad.
It's incredible the size of the inflorescence compared to the size of the plant itself. In this bromeliad, it's yes, at least 5 or 6 times higher than the crown of leaves. It seems it's Guzmania or Vriezea, but it's incredibly beautiful. So this peperomia, we see the young new shoots with tighted leaves, and after, when it's flowering, elongation of the internodes, leaves are separate and the spadices are at the end of each stem. The Poabia serjania, yes, it's a climbing member of Sapindacea, but this species is very beautiful because the leaves are totally divided, almost ternately divided, and very, very elegant, and we see clearly the tendrils. It's why I see it's Serjania orpolinia, because it's typical of this climbing Sapindacea. This is Piper auritum. It's one of the most common pioneer species in Central America. It has huge leaves and we can see the erect spadices. And after, when maturing, erect at the beginning and after hanging down when maturing. And probably it's bats which are eating the fruit of this. Here at this mid-elevation altitude, around 1,500 meters above sea level, we see 3 pioneer species. It's a very humid climate. I see these 2 species growing here. So we see here the member of the Papaveraceae, the Bocconia, which has inflorescence at the top of the pinnate leaves. Just above it we see a huge Cecropia, and also we see a big patch of Piper auritum with all the inflorescence and the many stems arising from the base. So in the same area, 3 pioneer species, because of course most of the forest is destroyed here along this river. A species of a Rousselia. So it's a Scrofulariaceae. It's a plant growing always on subvertical slopes, but this species actually has quite big leaves and quite small flowers, very different from the commonly grown Rousselia equisetiformis, which has very long hanging stems and bigger flowers and smaller leaves. But it's a very nice species which has angular stems and growing vertically. Here on this slope at about 800 meters above sea level, we see an incredible population of a Boccarnea or a Nolina. It's incredible because all the individuals are growing side by side. We have seen the base is inflated, which is quite usual in Boccarnea species, so it is absolutely everywhere growing on this slope. It has been, of course, partly destroyed, so maybe it's because there is more light that the Boccarnea are so happy. It's growing everywhere, and I can go here also. And no inflorescence, but a vegetative population, maybe just a problem of season, but I don't see any remains of inflorescence. It's a species with quite wide leaves. Oh, here we see on the limestone a big Saxicolus species of Anthurium. It's growing vertically. It has huge erect leaves, totally glaucous. We see the infructescence, young inflorescence, all stadium. We see the base, which has all the roots creating a kind of a flower pot at the base of the stem. It's a very old individual. We see some smaller around here. Ooh, very surprising to see this kind of Anthurium. Here it has the big geniculum, the swollen part just below the leaf blade, which is characteristic of this Anthurium, but also some other Araceae. at the top of the cliff in natural habitat. This species, which is so commonly cultivated everywhere, it's a Yucca guatemalensis, and here we see it growing on the top of this limestone cliff. And we see it's a dry vegetation, quite low vegetation, and it's happy in a very well-drained substrate. Very intrigued by this so beautiful plant. At the beginning, due to this oval structure at the top of an axis in the middle of the flower, I did think it was an ovary, so it could be a Caparidaceae. But actually, when I look, I see that the ovary is not at all at the top, it is at the bottom. So impossible to be a Caparidaceae. Also, the stamens are very special, but up to now I can say nothing. It has alternate leaves. Really, of the group of families with tubular flowers, I'm not sure at all. I don't know. I'll check in the books to know who can be this creature. When I see it again, maybe I have a proposition concerning maybe a member of Proteaceae, but not sure at all. I check, I have the big book on the trees of Guatemala. Along this fast-flowing river near Coban in the Orthopedic Quetzal, we see on the rocks a typical rheophytic species of Cuphea. Many Cuphea species in the Lythraceae are rheophytic under shrubs, or sometimes more or less herbaceous, but mostly shrubs like this. We see the flowers at the end of the stems. It's a small pinkish flower, but we see that this Cuphea is covering these rocks. So every time there are high rainfalls, they are totally covered by the water, but they resist very well because the stems are very flexuous. So even when very strong water flow, they can resist. It's a typical adaptation of rheophytic species. And here also we see something else, also more or less rheophytic, is the big patch of a Pitcairnia. Pitcairnia is a bromeliad, but many species are adapted to very different habitats. Some are more or less rheophytic like this one, but some other can grow in totally open places in full sun at different altitudes from lowlands to high mountains. So it's the biggest genus of Bromeliaceae. It's about, if I remember, about 400 different species. It is very poorly known in botanical collections, but it's a very important genus of Bromeliaceae. We see here a specimen which has its long leaves, very sedge-like or very grass-like. It doesn't look at all like a bromeliad when we look, but when we see inflorescence, it is typically a bromeliad. Now I try to move a little bit among the Cuphea. Here we see a species of Monstera. It's not surprising to find Monstera here, but I'm surprised for one thing, is that this one has a silver patched leaves. Usually it's only in the climbing species with totally oppressed shingle leaves oppressed to the trunk. So some like Monstera dubia, for instance, have these very well designed silver patches, but for this species it's much more surprising because the leaves are not at all like the shingle leaves fixed to the trunk, but are totally detached like many other climbing Araceae. So I'm surprised to see this pattern, silver pattern, on a species with detached leaves like this. Climbing epiphytic species of Ericaceae, and we see that the stem is regularly fixed by adventitious roots in the mosses covering the trunk and then arcing branches. So it is growing in a not very specialized way, but specialized enough to have some stems attracted by the trunk, probably by the shade of the trunk, while other stems are reclining and flowering. Here we don't see flowers, we see some old flowers. So the genus is not Sphaerosperma, but it's this group of genera of epiphytic Ericaceae in South America, in tropical America. So here we see a very famous plant we know all over the world, in apartments, in offices, everywhere. It's a Monstera deliciosa, but actually I'm very happy because it is here in its habitat, because this species is native from Central America. And we see actually that this form is quite different from the commonly grown form. It has very thick leaves, very thick. The holes are also distributed in a quite different way, and the leaf shape globally is smaller and wider. Also it's very, very elegant. I consider it's more elegant than the form commonly cultivated. But it's I'm very happy to see Monstera, finally Monstera deliciosa, growing in its habitat. Neomarica, it's a genus of Iridaceae, typical of the understory of the tropical American forest in South America and also in Central America. It has very bright green leaves. What is characteristic is that the inflorescence axis is exactly like a leaf. It is flat and green, and usually after flowering there are some bulbils, some plantlets developing at the base of the inflorescence. Yeah, this is quite a strange species of Anthurium because it is climbing almost erect. It has very long leaves, and it's quite detached from the support, and it's flowering in a real understory, so it's not at all a usual epiphytic species growing higher in the trees, not terrestrial. It's climbing, but not in the same way as some other Anthurium. So for me it's a little bit strange vision. This is obviously a member of a Gesneriaceae with opposite leaves and fleshy stems, and a typical habitat for many Gesnerias like Besleria and other genera, but this one I don't know at all which one it is, but what is very spectacular is the crinkled leaves. Each little bump allows to have more light reaching the chlorophyll, and we see clearly that between all the nerves we have a half part of a dome, and thus increasing the light available for the chlorophyll cells. Another Gesneriaceae with also bullet leaves, but the shape of the leaf is different because we see that the petiole is winged at the base of the leaf. Winged part, and it seems it's always a much smaller species. Yes, it has hairs everywhere. There are many genera like a diastema among the small species. From the trial I did see this plant which was really looking like Pandanus, an Asian Pandanus in forest understory, and when I look more closely, I see that the leaves are spiny in the same way as a Pandanus, but of course it's not at all a Pandanus. It is most probably a Pitcairnia, also a member or another species of these very strange Bromeliaceae, which can be climbing, it can be rheophytic, which can be in almost desertic areas, and here it is self-standing, is the same growth habit as Pandanus in Asia, but the spines are clearly indication that this is a Pitcairnia. This creeping plant with round hairy leaves and bright blue fruit is a member of the Rubiaceae, it's a Coccocypselum, and the genus Coccocypselum is typical from both Central and South America. Very often it's growing in much more lighted places, so here I'm surprised to see this very small species with round leaves. When we think about Solanaceae, we think about sun-loving plants, but not at all. Many are from forest understory, and we see the perfect tiny berry, probably the small birds like manakins and the other tanagers and frugivorous birds probably love these bright orange berries. So this erect plant with leathery leaves and succulent leaves actually is an erect species of peperomia. It's not so common because usually they are more climbing or simply covering the trunks and branches, but this one is totally erect, but we see it's a peperomia due to very succulent leaves, and also the red markings on the stem are quite typical, and also the sheathing leaf base is characteristic of peperomia species. One of the maybe about 500 species of peperomia in tropical America. On this vertical cliff close to the waterfall, it's a totally sipping rocks, and of course there are interesting plants. I see this very strange little plant with peltate leaves, but when I look a little bit higher, I see that this little plant actually is a peperomia, because you can see here the spikes typical of peperomia, but the vegetative habit and the habitat is very strange, because some peperomia are growing high as epiphytes in quite dry places, some are growing in even desert places, and here another type of species is growing in totally humid and more than humid sipping rocks, but the spatic is very typical of peperomia with small white flowers. And something else here, I don't know at all what it could be. It alternate leaves, dentate, maybe it could look like a lobelia. Yes, a little bit white latex it seems. But for lobelia habitat is very, very strange. But so, I don't know, it's a very beautiful plant, but I don't know what it is. No flowers, no fruits, but happy here. This is a tiny palm, and I'm almost sure it's a genus Reinhardtia. It's a small genus with very few species, especially from Central America. We see that the tiny leaves have some indentation, almost like spines, and we see actually it's adult because along the stem we can see here traces of inflorescence which are just emerging now. So it's one of the smallest species of palms, at least in America. There are also some species, of course, in Asia, in Madagascar, but in America these are really the smallest palms of the rainforest. When I did see this tree fern, I did think that another fern was growing inside the crown of the fern, but actually, when I look more closely, I see that this totally dissected little frond is not a frond, actually, is the first pinnae of the huge frond of the tree fern. So it has totally two dimorphic shapes of fronds. The first one are totally tighted like this, and probably they can provocate accumulation of humus in the center of the crown of the fern, and also maybe it protects the apex against some animals which could have the idea to eat the growing apex of the fern. So it's really a kind of protection in the middle, and we see actually that the final leaf shape of the frond is totally different. It's very strange also because there are some pinnae at the bottom, nothing along about 1 or 1.5 meters, and after the usual lateral pinnae. Very strange plant.
Que vas a acabar conmigo y sufriendo estoy. Canalla, canalla, canalla. Canalla, canalla, canallona. Mira qué mala eres. Canalla, canalla, canalla. No puede ser que en el mundo seas tan canalla conmigo. Canalla, canalla, canalla. Canalla, 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 canallona. Canalla.
Yes, it's a member of a Polygalaceae. I have a name in mind, something like Securinaga. I have to check, but for me, in my memory, Securinaga is something. Many species are growing on this vertical slope. We see different species, at least 3 different begonias, one with crinkled leaves. And we see also the Hoffmannia and the Rubiaceae with very beautiful brown leaves. We see also a small plant which is probably a member of Scrofulariaceae. It's very, very rich. We see a clusia just above me. I'm surprised with the different philodendron species, the different backyards. So on very few square meters, we can see a lot of plants. The shrubby species of piper, which has characteristic peltate leaves. I did think it was climbing high or erect big shrub, but actually it's very small because we see the spadix. So it is adult and flowering, and I'm surprised because most piper have 2 types of branches, one erect monopodial branch and lateral branches with inflorescence, but this one has only 1 type of branch. Here we see a Dracena. At the beginning I did think it was maybe an escape of cultivation, but it is a species native from here, obviously, on the monocolous young erect stem that it is branching. We see here the leaves. It looks really like many African or Asian Dracena species. So here we see the leaves, which are very typical of many Dracena. It are not peciolate, they are sheathing the stem, but these ones are very, very shiny and recalling somewhat the species from Cuba. Cuba is not so far. These Attalea palms are typical of these karst areas, and it's a huge palm. It has very interesting display of the leaflets, because instead of being displayed horizontally on each side of the rashes, the leaflets are mostly vertically displayed, probably allowing to reduce the impact of the strong light. But also what is incredible is the size of the inflorescence and then the infructescence. We see this huge hanging infructescence.
It's very big. Eh?
Yes, it's a bird nest anthurium. It's really a huge species. It's growing on the karst, but it can also grow on the soil directly like this. No inflorescence.
T'as vu un peu ce truc
Ah oui.
énorme. Puis d'une densité dans le feuillage, c'est incroyable.
Ah oui, il n'y a pas de doute, il est naturel.
Les femmes, elles sont incroyables, la tête.